I don't like to take big risks. I like players like the people who I think can prove themselves. I like the Adrian Petersons. I like them, especially I like the Mark Ingrams. The Mark Ingrams who, like, some are down sometimes, but like towards the end of the year, he's done the same thing he's done like the last couple of years. And he's always consistent. He gets that 4 yards. He gets me my points that I need. But I like to have the big name running backs because, yes, you got to have those points on the board to just win. That's how the game is played. But you also need to have value. I love my running backs. I love having a good running back, someone who I think is going to be very consistent. But also, yes, they get hurt a lot. That's why you have to work a little bit with your bench, like having players you can plug in, like the Danny Woodheads, the Theo Riddicks, those people that you can step up just for the week and get you the points you need. And then when he's healthy again, get ready. Put the starter back in.
Well, undeniably, if you have like one of those top workhorse running backs, like when you have a completely amazing Adrian Peterson as your running back one, it definitely gives your team a great advantage. But the problem is that in recent years, there's been such a high bust percentage with those top, who we think are going to be those top running backs every year, that to me, I'm not buying it. I'm going to take a top wide receiver in the first round. And honestly, in a dynasty startup, I'll probably take top wide receivers for the first 4 or 5 rounds at least. Just because I know I can get guys later that will still give me about the same fantasy points as guys I might get in the 4th or 5th, especially in a PPR league. There's tons of guys that are just going to be pass catchers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I like to have that one as a running back. What would you rather have? Would you rather have Gronk or Zeke? I feel like I'd rather have
Gronk. In a dynasty
Gronk.
league, Gronk every day.
Yeah, I'd rather have someone like Gronk. If he falls to me at 12-1, I would be ecstatic. I would actually be very ecstatic
well, if we're
at
talking
that point.
In redraft leagues, Ezekiel Elliott right now has an ADP at 109.
Jordan and I's our standard league is coming up, our draft. I've been doing some mock drafts, getting ready for that, just to kind of see what the thing is. And Ezekiel Elliott's going so early, I can't stand it. I'm like, give me Lamar Miller and give me my check.
Well,
Goodbye.
That's like, Ezekiel Elliott is like at 109. You're taking him over guys like Allen Robinson, Keenan Allen. Like, no, never. Rob Gronkowski? I'd rather have any of those guys than Ezekiel Elliott. I'd rather even take, like, say, Lamar Miller and Le'Veon Bell are even going later. I understand Le'Veon Bell's ADP dropping because of the suspension and everything, but I definitely trust Le'Veon Bell to get me more points into my lineup than I do Ezekiel Elliott.
I definitely see that. Like, both Jordan and I are both more conservative. We both like to take risk at certain times for the right price, but we're both a little more conservative players, I would say. That's where we kind of stand on it. There are the people that are like, he's going to blow up. Maybe my team isn't that great this year, but like, I'm trying to win right now. Like, I'm trying to get these wins now, and I don't want that. Ezekiel Elliott might give me that, but I believe Lamar Miller will, and I'll get him a couple of picks later. So I'd rather go Lamar Miller, where I think he's going to do great in Houston.
There's times to take risks in fantasy football, whether it's dynasty or redraft. The early rounds are not times to take risks. You want to get a good base for your team, something to build on, and then you take your risks in the later rounds with high upside players. The last segment of this show that we're going to talk about is 17 picks. I've seen a lot. If you're not a part of the Dynasty Trades community on Twitter, I urge you to follow it. There's a couple accounts that specifically love to retweet any trades. You tweet at them. You can create a poll. It's really just a great resource as a Dynasty owner to be able to see what other people are trading and to criticize what they're doing. So I think at Dynasty Trades is one. I think there's one at Dynasty Trading. I think those are the two at least I know I follow. I know there's also, I think, a Dynasty Trade Calculator account. On these accounts recently, I have seen a lot of people paying a mint for 2017 draft picks. I just can't believe it. I know there's been a lot of experts out there saying the 2017 draft class is going to be one of the best ever. The 2017 draft class is going to be amazing. You need more picks in the 2017 draft class. I am definitely not going to go and trade a proven commodity for a draft pick in what I hope will be a great draft class. Because there's still a whole year of college football that needs to play out before these players hit the NFL. Last year at this time, Tyler Boyd was the undisputed number 1 pick in the 2016 draft. Everybody thought Tyler Boyd was going to be the top receiver. Tyler Boyd now checked in at like 5 or 6 there's a lot of football to be played, and a lot of things will change. I do not like trading players who can help me win a championship this year for what may be a good player next year. How do you feel about that, Josh?
Yeah, I think people take that as you need more 17 picks, as in you need 3 or 4. No, you need 1 or 2. If you have 2 picks, hooray for you. I would love that. I would just love to have 2 first-round picks. Drafting is just one of the fun parts about playing Dynasty football. And especially with a fun class like the 17 class, yeah, go out and if you want, go get 2 17 picks. Don't go out and get 3, 4, 5, 6. You don't need them. You're going to give out too much away, then your team's going to suck.
Hey, Josh, why don't you give us a rundown of your favorite college players coming out next year?
Now it's time for Josh Bear's College Player Breakdown.
Well, first, I think the 17 class is going to be awesome if you need a running back. The wide receivers are very good, but the running backs are the stars. So let's start off with the running backs. Number 1, of course, Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette is going to be, and has proven to be, insane. This dude can run the ball. It is just fun to watch him. It's very interesting. I think he's going to be the 1-1 next year. He's going to be absolutely nuts. Next up is Nick Chubb, a guy who's been just kind of gashed with injuries. But when he's on the field, it is something to watch. He runs the ball extremely well. Stanford's running back is the one who's the best pass catcher, Christian McCaffrey. He's like a running back, a receiving back on crack. It's just, he could really run that ball, and catching it out of the backfield, just defenses look out. That stuff's crazy. And the last one is Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook from one of my favorite schools, Florida State. I love to watch Florida State. I'm a big Florida State and Alabama fan. Dalvin Cook is someone I've been watching for the last 2 years. He's just a good running back. I think he's going to be like, if Nick Chubb stays healthy, Dalvin Cook's going to be at the back end of these 4. But whoever gets them, I saw a lot of, in mock drafts in 2017, it's a lot of Dalvin Cook to the Patriots at 30 after these guys get taken. A couple of wide receivers, again, these are pretty good guys. They're not like the high tier that these running backs are going to be. The first one off the list is Juju Smith-Schuster. Is a really good wide receiver. I like him as a prospect. I never like to see guys, that's why I'm kind of giddy about all these guys, because I don't like to see guys fail, especially guys who I really like watching on tape. But it just happens. I guarantee one of these 10 people I'm going to mention are going to flop next year. So who else have we got? We have Malachi Dupree out of Louisiana State University. Just LSU just kill it with prospects. The last couple of years, we had some fantastic people come out of
LSU and
LSU.
Alabama seem
this
like
guy is no
the
exception.
Best players in college football. And last year, Ohio
Yeah,
State
the
had
Alabama
a good chance
makes
for it,
me
too.
sad. Alabama running backs make me sad. They're so good in college, and then come to the pros, and they're like...
And they eat too many
all right,
cheeseburgers. And
that's it. Eddie Lacy still got that spin move. You don't know. Malachi Dupree is up there. One of my guys who I love, I'm a big Clemson receiver guy, and Mike Williams is one of my favorite people. I was all about Sharon Peak coming in this year, coming up. I like Mike Williams more than I like Sharon Peak. I think this guy is going to be crazy. And one more wide receiver to talk about, Corey Davis. I haven't seen a lot about Corey Davis, but he's high up here. Sadly, I don't have much to report on him. But he has to be up here for a reason. He's out of Western Michigan. So, and then I want to just talk about 2 quarterbacks real quick. Deshaun Watson out of Clemson. That guy, if you watch college football, you saw him in the championship. In my 2 QB, I'm definitely looking for him next year. And there's also Brad Kaya out of Miami. I've only seen very little of Brad Kaya, but what I have seen, I do like. 2 tight ends. 2 tight ends to look at is we have O.J. Howard out of Alabama. And again, big Alabama fan, so I've been watching this guy. I love him. I thought he was going to come last year. He didn't end up. He's staying at school. And next year, I think he's just going to be the number 1 tight end taken. I like Hunter Henry a little bit more, but O.J. Howard I think is going to be good. And last is Michigan's Jake Butt. Pause for laughter on the funny name. I thought I just laugh at Jake Butt. Such a ridiculous name, but when you see that guy play, he's good. I think he's going to be a lower end tight end to be taken next year. Maybe we're going to be talking about maybe a sleeper tight end unless he really does well this season. being Jake Butt, but I actually think he's going to do pretty well. I think he's going to be like a Tyler Higbee type find coming out here next. I hope you guys liked my voice for this long.
So even if those guys, they all have the best college seasons of their lives, their stock stays the same, and they still look like they're going to be amazing players to the NFL level, realistically, they're not. They are going to bust. I wrote a visit an article recently, statistically figuring out how often draft picks in Dynasty actually do hit. For first-round draft picks, they found out it was right around 50%, which is not very good at all. Like, that's bad. 50% chance of getting a good player? No, not doing it. And then for second, third rounders, it was abysmal, even worse. So I actually just went through and wrote down some of, I went through the draft classes. I found like 2 were the consensus top 12 guys. And here's what I found. In 2010, 7 of them busted out of 12. 2011, 7 out of 12 busted. 2012 was nice, only 4 out of 12 busted. 2013, about 6 out of 12. And then 14 and 15, the jury's still out. I would say out of 14 class, you probably could say that Sankey is definitely a bust, and Marquise Lee is.
Oh, that hurts. I loved Sankey. I didn't get any stocks of Sankey, but I loved Bishop Sankey coming
bust.
Out.
And I mean, is there still a very slight chance that he can get cut from the Titans and latch on somewhere else and be successful? Yeah,
Not
it
whatsoever.
could happen. It could happen.
If you've seen a Titans game, that dude's. I just don't like him.
And of course, last year, Melvin Gordon underperformed. Green Beckham underperformed. Perryman hasn't even played yet. Jalen Strong disappointed.
Wait, I thought we decided that Brashad Perryman wasn't a real person. I thought we agreed it was Steve Smith wearing a bunch of socks,
yes,
so he looked a little bit taller.
We actually did talk about this before we started the show. Brashad Perryman just looks so old that he has to be just a modified version of Steve Smith, trying to stay in the league longer, even though he's old as dirt and should be done. I mean, they're both injured. They're both not playing. It lines up. Do you ever see them together? I haven't. They have to be the same person. Just like I've concluded that the sun and moon are the same celestial body. Like, these are facts, people. You gotta put it together. But anyway, back to the topic. Basically, what I'm saying is that draft picks just do not have a high probability of playing out in the way you think they will. Obviously, if you had any of the top, 5 or 6 picks in the 2014 draft, you probably hit a home run. First, top 4 off the board: Watkins, Evans, OBJ, and Brandon Cooks.
Solid.
That was a crazy good class. That does not happen. 2014 is going to be a historically great class. But because that's still in people's memory, I think that's why you hear great class, and you have people buying all these stocks in the 17 class thinking that it's going to be 14. No. More often than not, it's probably going to be one of the other ones, where half of the first round picks don't even pan out.
I'm surprised how much we didn't argue this episode. I expected us to argue a lot more.
I promise
we actually agreed on a lot of things.
I will find more content that Josh and I disagree on, so we can yell at each other and make fun of each other as much as possible. That is coming.
Maybe we'll talk about Kenyon Drake next week. That's a nice argument.
You like Kenyon Drake, don't you?
I love Kenyon Drake, but I wouldn't say love. Love's a little harsh. I like Kenyon Drake, but I kind of like to say love because a lot of people hate on Kenyon Drake, and I think
that's
it's fun.
The topic. Come in. We're going to yell at each other. It's going to be a great time. Okay, so again, this has been the Jet Set Dynasty podcast. Thank you for tuning in. You can please rate the show on wherever you are listening to: iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spreaker. Just give us a like, give us a follow, download it. It just really helps us out, helps us get out there. And be sure to check out our website and our podcast page, superfantasybros.com. Josh and I are both writers, and we're continually posting new website reviews for all your fantasy football resources, as well as original articles, and obviously new podcasts are updated weekly. We also have a brother podcast.
I think with all the people over there, I think it's more sisters.
It's our
shots fired.
Our sister podcast, Good Fantasy Football Podcast. That's hosted by my brother Cameron Nutter, as well as our 2 other writers for superfantasybros.com, Brian Stein and Matt Presto. Their episode went live a couple days before we even recorded this, so check them out. They're on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spreaker. Everywhere you can find us, you can find them. Again, it is called the Good Fantasy Football Podcast. Give them a listen and check out the site. Again, any questions, you can send us in to Jet